See what our next guest has to say, guys, but we are just looking to talk to some individuals that are pro-life. So, and also, guys, make sure we're tippity-tap-tapping away in that phone screen and make sure we're sharing the live with a couple of friends.
Yo.
Yo, welcome in. Are you pro-life? Do you think that abortion is
Hell
wrong?
yeah, I'm pro-life.
Thank you so much for the ICU, Greg. All right, sweet. So why is abortion wrong? Why should women not have access to basic health care?
Because if you're planning to have a baby, have the fucking baby. If you didn't want it, don't have it.
Well, you just described pro-life, right? Because mothers that get abortions are not planning to have a baby. So, you just said if you're planning to have a baby, plan to have a baby. If you don't want
No,
it.
yeah, plan to have a baby if you're planning to have a baby. If not, if it's unexpected, then nah.
Right, so
Don't
are
bring it in.
you pro-choice? Like, you think that abortion's okay?
Yeah, for sure.
No, you just said that you're pro-life. Well, I appreciate you for coming up. I'm just looking to talk to individuals that are pro-life. We're gonna go to move on to our next guest here, chat. Let's go ahead and see what our next guest has to say. We're gonna go ahead and get Desi up here, you guys. Also, y'all make sure if we are in those guest requests that we do think that abortion's wrong. We're just looking to talk to some pro-life individuals. What's going on? Are you pro-life? Oh, they can't hear you. She's no, the chat can't hear you. The chat can't hear you. Just go ahead and hop back in the guest request, Desi. Go ahead and hop back in the guest request, Desi. Then also, Desi, I am so sorry. Wait, can't hear me. Anyways, you guys, no sound. Hear me? We couldn't hear me. Oh, can y'all hear me now? I don't know what's going on. Hopefully y'all can hear me now. But anyways, you guys, unfortunately, Desi, I am going to go ahead and move on to the next guest just because you did say that you think it should be legal. You hear everything sweet. So we're going to go ahead and get our next guest up here. But just to clarify once more, you guys, if you do think that abortion should be legal, then please respectfully do not get in the guest requests. We're just looking to talk to some individuals that think it should be illegal or think that it's wrong. So we're just looking for some debates here. So we're going to go ahead and see what our next guest at this point has to say, guys. Then also, y'all, let's try to hit 100,000 likes. Everybody tippity tap tap away in that phone screen.
Hold on. I'm just talking to the Reggie. Hold on.
Hey, what's up? Are you pro-life?
I am pro-life.
Very nice. So why do you think that abortion's wrong?
Okay, so I am and not. I feel like there's reasons for abortion, and I feel like the reasons are if there's a situation with the mother, situation with the child, if there's addiction, if there was rape, if there was incest. Those things I think that are absolutely reasons for abortion. However, I do feel like if it's just because it was a mistake, I don't feel like abortion should be had. I definitely feel like a child should be had and adopted to people who love them.
So I specifically asked why it's wrong. So right, if a man and a woman engage in the act of intercourse, the woman gets pregnant. By the way, you're getting hella bank right now. You're getting hella bank. You just made like $20. Now you've made $25, Crystal.
Awesome.
Anyways, so if a man and a woman engage in the act of intercourse, and then the woman gets pregnant and she doesn't want it, why is it wrong for her to get an abortion?
Why is it wrong for her to get an abortion if it's not for the reasons I just spoke? The reason why I think it's not right is because I feel like anything that has a heartbeat should not be killed. I do feel like that child has. All right. Whatever the case may be, I honestly think at the end of the day, like I said, they should go to a home that will be able to care for them. What I truly feel, and this is what I see, is that would we kill a nonverbal child?
Do you mind if I respond?
Oh yeah, you go ahead.
All right, sweet. So you mentioned two markers as to why abortion's wrong.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you how much you've made. I think you've made about $100 now.
Wow. Okay.
I know. Anyways, so here's why I disagree with you. Wow, now you've made about $130, 130.
Gush, 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 gush.
Yeah, I see. I see. I'm just messing with you, Haley. I'm just messing with you. Relax. Everything's fine. All right, guys.
For example, are you a vegan?
I'm not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian.
Right. So this would contradict your statement. You think it's wrong to unalive anything with a heartbeat because obviously you don't think it's wrong to unalive like a chicken with a heartbeat. And then for the second part, you said you do think that the fetus possesses consciousness within womb. Don, thank you for the boo. And you're right. The fetus does possess consciousness within the womb. However, this is only about the 24-week mark and after that because of the thymocortical connections. And prior to that point, it doesn't possess consciousness and it doesn't possess the ability to deploy consciousness. So this is why I actually think it's okay to get an abortion prior to that 24-week mark.
No, I get what you're saying. I do feel like I said the reasons why I feel like it's okay, but me telling you that there's conscious or a heartbeat, let's start with that. Let's say they have heartbeat. A child that is nonverbal, let's say they have autism and they're nonverbal, or let's say they have Down syndrome and they're nonverbal. Was it okay for us to kill that child?
No, because it has the ability to deploy consciousness and the conjunction between consciousness and humanity.
If that child is unable to speak or unable to even eat on their own, do you feel like they still are hardly has any brainwaves? Which probably
do they have thymocortical connections?
They have the connections and the connections.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So I value the conjunction between the connections and the ability and humanity in of itself. I think if we observe any level of consciousness within a human, we're automatically going to grant it the same amount of value, right? Because of the conjunction between that and the fact that they are human.
Right. Okay. So at some point, like you said, at the 24-week mark, that child will eventually gain consciousness and be as valuable as you and me and everybody in this world, including everybody in these comments.
Thanks for the galaxy.
It's definitely very different, you know what I mean, between giving a child, like saying that a child will not, you know what I mean, killing it before it gets consciousness versus killing a child before it gets to that point. Is like, I
don't understand exactly what you're saying. Are you saying it's wrong because it may potentially possess consciousness?
No, I feel like it's wrong because it will, after that point, possess the consciousness that you and I have.
So is it wrong to get an abortion at like 10 weeks because it may potentially possess consciousness later down the line?
I think that for reasons I spoke, it's okay because of health reasons and other reasons. But
no, we're just talking about Crystal, come on, please follow a little bit better.
Oh yeah, I'm following you.
So you said that abortion's wrong if it's an elective abortion for none of the reasons in which you already mentioned.
Yes.
If, like, at any point, correct?
Yes.
You are seriously going to leave this live with about $500. I just want to let you know
that's crazy. That's insane. No,
right? And then your reasoning for doing so was because if you give that child time, it's going to eventually develop consciousness, right? That's why it's wrong?
That's why it's wrong, and actually putting it in the category as cattle.
Holy shit. Okay, we just gotta let the gifts die down here. Okay. Anyways, so I don't understand, like, why we're gonna value, like, the potentiality for something along those lines. Like, for instance, so imagine this hypothetical, right? Imagine this hypothetical. There's a contraption that has a sperm on one arm and an egg on the other arm, and this contraption, it, like, inches the sperm and the egg closer and closer and closer and closer together, right? And if you leave to this contraption to its natural environment and you give it time, like, it will eventually develop into an embryo that will develop into a fetus that will develop into an entity with consciousness to the same level that we have it, right? So would it be wrong to stop this contraption?
Well, first of all, a child or a being or a fetus is not a contraption.
I appreciate the sunglasses, Holly, right? But that's not a relevant distinction, right? So this is a logically analogous situation, and I'll go ahead and explain it to you. You said abortion wrong because if left to natural habitat, will potentially possess consciousness. Therefore, ending this contraption should be wrong because if left to its natural habitat, it will potentially possess consciousness.
Absolutely.
So is it wrong to end this contraption's movement?
It's wrong unnaturally to take out this contraption, or I don't want to call it contraption, to take away this ability of this being to actually develop to what it would naturally do.
All right, I'm interested that you died on that hill because I think that like this shows the absurdity within your position, right? Because like pretty much what you just told us is it is just as wrong to end this contraption's movement of a sperm and an egg cell inching closer and closer together as it would be to whip out a gun and pew pew someone on the side of the street. And I think that's an absolutely absurd claim.
No, I don't think it's an absolutely absurd claim. I think that's two different things. I think that if someone is willing to actually have the ability, like me and you have, and the mindset and the full consciousness of actually getting a pew pew and ending someone's life that is fully conscious with a pew pew. That's
right, but you just already said that like it doesn't matter. Like consciousness doesn't matter, right? It's just going to be like the potentiality for consciousness, right? So it's not like actually having consciousness that matters, and the potentiality for consciousness matters just as much as actually having it. Holly, thank you so much for the lemonade. And like this is what you just told us, so right? So like once again, like yes, so under your worldview, like who would you rather save? An actual person like you or I, or this contraption that has a sperm and an egg on it?
Okay, so I can say this as having miscarriage and then having two children of my own. I wouldn't say it's a contraption, first of all.
Thank you so much for the money gun, Eric. No, it is quite literally a contraption. I already outlined the hypothetical to you. It is literally a contraption. I'm going to tell you once more. I'm going to explain to you that once more. Just follow here.
A contraption to me is something that...
Wait, no, it's literally a fucking contraption.
Matter.
I'll just explain it to you once again. Okay. So here's what you said. You said abortion is wrong because if you leave the fetus to its natural habitat, it will potentially develop consciousness, right? So then I made the hypothetical, well, imagine like an actual fucking contraption. Like imagine like a piece of wood with two little arms on each side that inch closer and closer together. And on one arm is a sperm, and on the other arm is an egg, right? So, and it's going to inch that sperm and the egg closer and closer and closer together until they meet. Then comes the embryo, then comes the fetus, then potentially comes the consciousness, right? So, under your worldview, it should be like murder to end the movement of this contraption, because if you leave it to its natural habitat and you leave it time, then it's potentially going to develop into an entity with consciousness. So would you agree or disagree that this would be murder?
I absolutely agree that would be murder, and I disagree putting, a comparison between two pieces of wood to a actual.
It's a logical. It's a logical comparison, and like the fact that you think that it's wrong. No, it's a logical comparison, right? So now you're just naming like differences that don't bear any moral relevance to another individual without her consent.
I will ask that. Let me ask you one question, team. So. The babies, when do they get defense? Like, are you saying when does someone, how long?
20 weeks. So at the point of viability, it should no longer be all right to get an abortion. And this is because at the point of viability, it's no longer the gentlest means necessary to end that rights infringement upon the mother's bodily autonomy to end the life of a fetus. We could use other forms or other methods of like terminating that pregnancy, such as induction or forced labor, right? And like when like induction and forced labor could be used to end that rights violation, or the life of the fetus could be sustained, that's going to be when it's no longer justified to take the life of the fetus.
Do you believe 20 weeks it would be illegal to have, to unalive a baby?
You're right. Absolutely. I completely hold to that standard.
Well, you know what? That's at least somewhere. I at least appreciate that, because some states push, they don't care. So I commend you for at least feeling that. But I think the qualification of like where life begins would be where me and you would have our problem, right?
I don't think so. I think we could agree when life begins. Life begins at the moment of conception, right? But like once again, I think that like it's intuitively clear that like we don't like just value biological life like that. I think it's like the traits in which the biological life has that we value. Like for instance, like every time you brush your teeth, you unalive like 400 million biological life forms of bacteria, and like obviously that's not wrong at all. But why isn't that wrong? Well, the bacteria is nothing like us. It possesses no level of consciousness. It's just fucking biological little cells. So obviously that's not going to be wrong. Or like even when we go to like food in which some people eat, such as like pork or cow or chicken, right? So a lot of individuals think that it's going to be okay to unalive that biological life because it doesn't possess like the same ability to rationalize the world around us. Therefore, we're not doing that much grave of a harm by ending that life. And then in a similar sense, I think we're going to see similar justification for that as we would in the case of abortion, because the fetus doesn't have any level of consciousness, it doesn't have the ability to deploy consciousness, and it's infringing upon the mother's bodily autonomy. You know, we're going to have some, like, descriptive value, like, in the sense that, like, I'm probably going to grant it some value just because it's a human, but definitely not enough moral value for it to overrule or outride, like, the access to healthcare on the side of the mothers, or, like, to overrule or outride the mother's desires, the mother's rights, or the mother's personhood. You know, like, that, like, but, like, yeah, you could say it has no value. I don't really mind that much.
So you say there's no value in that 0 to 20 because of the mother's rights, right? No,
because of the lack of the ability to deploy consciousness and the mother's rights.
Okay. So I agree with you that the mother's rights, that's a whole other different topic to me. I believe we need to change things and take care of mothers, because it's very hard. I couldn't expect a mother. It's hard to say, you know, be pro-life and say you're forced to do this, but then not take care of them. So I'm actually, like, still open for massive conversation in that regard. But in I still believe it should be illegal. I see value in 0 to 20 weeks, because you said there is life, because you're calling them a human. You're calling them something.
Right, they are alive.
Yeah, but there's no value. It's really strange to hear there's no value until 20 weeks, but there's a heartbeat, right?
Right. I mean, would you say that a chicken has value?
Yeah, it was created for the consumption, and you know, we use it
Right.
to live.
I mean, I don't think there's, like, at least under my worldview, there's no, like, relevant distinction between, like, a chicken and a fetus prior to, like, 20 weeks. You know, like, for the reason that, well, both of them have heartbeats, both of them are biologically alive. I mean, like some will make the argument that we use them for the consumption to be alive still. Well, it's not necessary to consume meat to still be alive. And then even in that regard, if we apply that same notion to the fetus, such as, well, what if a mother got an abortion to then eat the fetus for, like, you know, nutrition? I'm guessing that would be, like, viewed as more wrong than just getting a fetus for, you know, any given reason. I think, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see any relevant distinction in that regard. But I mean, like, how do you feel about that? I mean, do you have any, like, pushback or contentions with my positions? Like, possibly like an objection or a counter argument?
I believe that you're looking at studies that are geared towards showing it later. I believe that a fetus has way more value than just a heartbeat and some matter that could form. I believe it's already there.
They're a woman, then they're a woman. To me, it's that simple. I don't require anything other than that innate self.
Well, I don't feel the same way about it. I think that there's something very obvious and very essential to a person.
From having kids and looking at their responses and watching them grow multiple times. So, but I also agree with you that, you know, the whole, you know, most people just, mother's rights is what they say. Mothers have rights, and that's their reason.
Well, here, how about this? So it seems as if, like, the contention that, like, we have found ourselves in at this point is the fact that you think consciousness arises at an earlier point, and I think that consciousness arises at 24 weeks, and you think consciousness arises before 24 weeks. The justification which I would possess would be the academic studies done on the thymocortical connections alongside the flavor sensing in utero and emerging discriminative behaviors in the human fetus. Like, you know, I have, like, these two academic studies here. I could send you the DOIs, and then, like, the justification clarification which you would have would be like your own anecdotal experiences compared to something of like an academic nature. So I mean, I think that like my claims would just inherently be more justified because I have more depth and more evidence to support them.
I think we could vote on it. I think here's the idea. Let me ask you one question. Do you believe consciousness has more value than a soul?
I think that the consciousness is the soul, right?
You
So
say
this could like differ from like our perspectives, but I just think a soul is going to be in denotation of like an immaterial mind. So
how does a soul come to a? How does soul arrive? A soul come? Where does the soul come from?
appreciate you for the confetti, Riley. Yeah, no clue.
No clue. Okay. Well, at least we both can agree on that. We're not there when it happens, but we know that we all live, right? So we both put value on the soul. We both put value on the heartbeat. We both put value on consciousness. It's just a matter of time of academic studies determining when you believe it should apply. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, like, once again, I just define a soul as like qualia, like, you know, just like the subjective ability to like feel, think, and perceive, you know, like different senses, like in a conscious sense. So, like, I mean, I don't think that we observed that before 24 weeks. Therefore, you know, that would just go into my argument for why abortion's okay. But yeah, man, I enjoyed my discussion with you. But you know, honestly, if you do want, feel free to maybe send over some literature, that you could find on the internet that would like denote consciousness arising at an earlier point.
You would agree that I could find things just like you could find things, and there would be no winning matter, right?
I don't know if you'll be able to. I've done a grave amount of research on it. There's really like nothing to denote consciousness arising at an earlier point, but I mean, shit, man.
Right,
I mean,
you
give
want
it a
to
try.
You want to bet 3 unis on it?
3 unis? I don't have 3 unis to put up, my boy. I wish. I bet you do though.
What do you want to bet then?
I'm not gonna put money on a claim, but I mean, I've definitely done a fair amount of research into it. But I'd be interested to see if you could find anything.
I'll definitely look into it, and I'll send you some stuff. I appreciate your chat being respectful and you being respectful. A lot of people just want to fight in these discussions, and on to another day, my friend.
Hell yeah, man. Have a good rest of your day. I appreciate you for coming up here.
Later. Bye.
Later. All right, you guys, we're going to move on to our next guest. Honestly, guys, we've had some pretty good discussion today. Like, I know that this topic isn't such like a big topic. Like, we only have like 2,000 people in here right now. But like, we're having some good talks today. I feel like I'm in such a good mood. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for the hand arts, Julia. Anyways, guys, we're going to move on to our next guest. If you do think that abortion's wrong or it should be illegal or you're pro-life, make sure to hop in those guest requests.
Then all of a sudden I just like had this feeling inside me, and it was kind of like an intuition feeling, not like anything to do with God, but just like a feeling that I had, that I just felt like this baby should be born. So I went through with it, and I had her, and then I just put her up for adoption because like I couldn't take care of her.
Do you mind if I don't understand how any of this would classify why abortion's wrong and should be illegal. Like, I understand if you had like the subjective inference of saying that this baby should be brought to term, but I don't see how that subjective inference is going to justify stripping like the access to healthcare, bodily autonomy, and like fundamental rights away from 170 million American women. Like, I'm more so looking for like an argument as to like why it should be illegal and like why it's immoral to do so. Thank you for the boo.
Yeah, I just feel like if I never had her, like I would have regretted it. And I feel like maybe a lot of
what about the mothers that don't regret it?
I mean, I feel like they somewhat do deep down. I don't know.
So now you're trying to gaslight women into this feeling that they may or may not possess, to like justify stripping the rights away from a whole lot of people. That's interesting. So I don't know. Let's just go ahead and look at it real quick. So like, I think that like we as individuals should be able to make decisions about our own bodies if those decisions do not cause harm. This seems like a pretty good basic principle. And I think if you are going to assert that a state should force or compel 170 million American women into providing their bodily resources, Diana, thank you for the ICU, to another individual without their consent because they could potentially regret it, well, we're not going to see that strong of a stance here. So, do you think it should be illegal for a diabetic to eat chocolate? Thank you for the boo.
No.
Why? Because they may regret it. Do you think it should be illegal to smoke cigarettes?
Maybe.
Maybe, honestly, I agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that wasn't that good of a question. Do you think it should be illegal to get a tattoo?
You kind of got me.
Kind of did. Diana, thank you for the boo. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. Diana, thank you so much for have a good one. All right, we're going to go to move on to our next guest here, guys. If we're going to go, also, guys, make sure we're still tapping away in that phone screen. We're going to go ahead and run a quick poll real quick. Yo, have these been some Dean W's or some Dean L's tonight? Yo, smiley faces, these have been some Dean W's. Sad faces, these have been some Dean L's. But we're going to go to move on to our next guest here, chat. If you do think that abortion is wrong, if you are pro-life, make sure to hop in those guest requests. But we're going to go to move on to our next guest at this point, y'all. And everyone, make sure we're still tapping away in that phone screen, you guys. Let's try to get up to 200,000 likes. Also, hit that follow button if you haven't already. Excuse me. All right, we're going to go and get our next guest up in here, y'all. Let's go ahead and see who is it going to be. Let's go and get Callie up here. Let's go and get Kelly up here. Also, y'all, make sure we're sharing the live. Everyone right now, share the live out to a couple friends. Let's try to get up to 200 shares while we get our next guest up here. Kelly was not loading up, so we're going to go ahead and move on to Angie, y'all. We just got to give it a minute. Sometimes it takes a minute to get a guest to connect. I cannot tell you why. TikTok is just a little glitchy like that. Unfortunately, Angie does have a bit of some feedback, and I think that she may have been driving, so we're going to go to move on to the next guest here. We just got to go ahead and give it a second. I see a lot of y'all in chat thinking I'm a bit nicer. Am I being, we're still trying to get someone to connect, just give it a second, but am I being a bit nicer today? Am I being a bit nicer about things today? Is this a good mood for me to be in? Do you like this? Yes. Oh my gosh, look at that. What's up, Jay? Do you think that abortion's wrong? Are you pro-life?
I am pro-life.
Why are you pro-life? Why is abortion wrong? Why shouldn't women have access to health care?
Well, I feel like once a child is conceived, it's its own separate entity, and it basically already has its own soul. So I feel like if you abort that, you're basically terminating. I mean, it's a separate entity. It has its own DNA.
Right, it does have its own DNA, but I don't think like unique human DNA is going to justify the unaliving of it to be wrong. Like, for instance, is if like a family consents to pulling the plug on like their brain dead family member, would that be just murder? Is that wrong to do?
Well, a brain dead family member is somebody that's already going through the motion of going into death. It's not being.
They haven't at all. No, actually, they're still biologically alive.
Support.
Absolutely, they're still biologically alive, right? So no, death has not.
Yeah, but they're already going through a natural death process.
No, they actually aren't at all, right? So the process of death has not started until we see a cessation of biological life, right? So in the instance of a brain dead individual, they just simply do not possess any brain cognitive function at all, right? And I feel like a lot of people are equivalent this to death because it's called brain dead. But the only thing that's dead is their cognitive abilities, right?
But they're only being kept alive by life support.
Oh, so it's okay to unalive the brain dead patient because they're being kept alive by
No, what I'm saying is that abortion cannot be equated to somebody on life support.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my equivocation here, right? Because you said it's wrong to unalive a fetus because it has unique human DNA and it's biologically alive, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that in the context of your position, an equivalence between a brain dead individual can definitely be made because a brain dead individual also has a unique human DNA and they're biologically alive, right? And you actually strengthen this connection because earlier you denoted the fact that the brain dead individual is only alive because they're being supported by life support, right? They're being supported by exterior means, right? Well, that's also the case of the fetus, right? It's only being supported by the mother's bodily resources. So we see a completely analogous case, but we see you yield two different conclusions. It's wrong to abort the fetus, but it's okay to pull the plug on the brain dead individual, and that's going to be a logical contradiction.
But the fetus isn't going through the process of death, whereas the person that's on life support, somebody that can't support themselves.
Can a fetus support themselves?
They cannot, but they're not going through the process of death.
Define the process of death.
Somebody that can't support themselves.
Can the fetus support themselves?
They cannot, but neither can a 2-year-old outside the body.
Oh yeah, sure. A 2-year-old outside of the body can definitely support their own biological life.
They cannot feed themselves. They need somebody to take care of them. If not, they will die.
Oh yeah, right. But the reason that we would deem it as wrong to like end the life of a 2-year-old outside of the body is because A, that 2-year-old possesses the ability to deploy consciousness, and B, their parents would have some form of like social contract or parental obligation to that child. So right.
So you're
you
saying
cannot necessarily-
location of the
one second.
child determines whether they should be aborted or not.
No, that's not what I said whatsoever. It's the ability to deploy consciousness of the human that, you know, would decide the ability.
Well,
or the
conscious. If
moral
somebody's on
relevance
life
in
support, they lack consciousness.
Right. So that's why it's okay to pull the plug on a brain dead individual.
What?
Right. It's completely morally fine to pull the plug on a brain dead individual because they do not have the ability to deploy consciousness. In the same sense that I think it's okay to get an abortion because they don't have the ability to deploy consciousness until about 24 weeks with the thymocortical connections. And in the same way that I don't think it's okay to just like stop providing for like a 2-year-old baby because they do have the ability to deploy consciousness.
Well, there's a difference between a fetus and somebody that's on life support and trying to equate consciousness, because an infant, they have consciousness, but they can't support themselves.
Right. But all that matters is that they have consciousness.
I think all life is precious, no matter consciousness or
chicken?
not. What's that?
Do you eat chicken?
Yes,
I thought all life was precious.
it is, but people on a spiritual level.
Do you think that self-defense is okay?
Yeah,
I thought all life was precious. Do you think that the death penalty is okay?
is.
Do you think that the death penalty is okay?
Tell me to be quiet, okay? I think the death penalty is necessary.
I thought all life was precious. So here's the thing.
It is
you basically
precious.
just said what I just did is I just completely like destroyed your argument because you're like abortion's wrong because all life is precious, right? But then I ask you all of these questions, and it seems as if even under your own worldview, there's going to be certain instances in where an individual would possess justification to end a
Okay,
life, right?
let-
And in the
let-
same sense, like we're going to make exceptions to this rule that all life is precious if we have certain justification to do so. And I think that it's quite clear that we should make an exception in the case of abortion. Because the justification to end that life would be the lack of that life's ability to deploy consciousness, then also the respect for the mother's bodily autonomy.
Well, I should have prefaced this when I first came on, is that I think in some instances abortion may be necessary. But
It's fine.
in
We don't need to
extreme
talk about
cases,
that. We don't need to
Okay.
talk about the extreme cases. You're good. I think most people are going to think that. So
Okay.
let's just stay on track here. What's
Okay.
your rebuttal to my last statement?
For bodily autonomy,
No. So you
choice-
basically just said abortion wrong because all life precious. Then I asked you about 5 questions of like if it would be wrong to unalive this life, and in each instance you said it would not be wrong. So then the conclusion of you saying that is there's going to be some instances in which it's not wrong to unalive a life because you possess adequate justification to do so.
When it comes
and then
from-
I like use this principle and I gave you the adequate justification to get an abortion, i.e. the means of the lack of the ability to deploy consciousness and the respect for the mother's bodily autonomy.
Okay. So where I would like to begin with that is it's on a spiritual level. If you're a religious person, human life is precious. All life, we shouldn't just kill animals or anything unless it's deemed necessary. We kill animals to eat. Yes.
So now you're saying it's wrong to get an abortion because God? Like that's pretty much your argument now?
That's where a lot of my beliefs come from, yeah.
Sweet. So what God do you believe in?
I believe in the God that created everything.
Well, I mean, like what religion?
That's Christianity.
Sweet. So can you please prove or justify to me that the Christian God exists?
Well, where does consciousness come from?
Where does consciousness come from? Thymocortical
Yeah.
connections?
No, there's no scientific proof. They can't prove where consciousness comes from.
Yeah, sure.
The
We could
laws
look
of
at flavors.
physics.
Wait, one second. You said there's no scientific proof. Look up flavor sensing in utero and emerging discriminative behaviors in the human fetus. DUI 10.1177//09567976221105-460. You could also look up academic resources done on the thymocortical connections in relation to the emergence of consciousness.
No, that's not where it comes from. That describes what it is.
No, that's where it comes from.
No scientist can prove where consciousness comes from.
Yeah, I just gave you the resources. Yes, they come from an advanced enough nervous system, right? And these empirics would show it. Just look it up. There you go.
Okay. So it's not just where does consciousness comes from, but also where do the laws of physics come from?
Laws of physics.
Laws of nature.
Laws of nature, such as what?
Something has to be created. There has to be a creator to create this. It can't just come from nothing.
Sure, absolutely, right? But the laws of physics are simply just going to be like descriptive. So we create them in our own mind to explain like external phenomena, right?
Okay, so where does logic come from then?
Yeah, like the laws of logic are descriptive. There's a sense of they're an abstraction of external phenomenon which we observe, right? We observe the fact that a square cannot be 100% blue and 100% red at the same time. Therefore, we would see that the law of identity would have to be, you know, like an objective truth.
Okay, but where does that idea come from?
The human mind. It's a descriptive fact of external reality. It comes from the human mind.
But what put that in people?
What put that in people? Observation. Wait, hold up. Wait, simple observation, right? So like the three classical laws of logic would be the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle, right? So we like know that the law of identity has to be objectively true because we know that like say this bag of milk chocolate covered pretzel peanut butter bites cannot be a bag of milk chocolate covered pretzel peanut butter bites and a cat at the same time. Something is what it is and it can't be anything different. A equals A, right? Roasted, I appreciate you for the $5 over Cash App, right? So we just descriptively observe these fundamental truths of reality, and then we explain them through things such as the laws of logic.
But you're explaining what logic is, but not where it comes from.
No, I just told you it comes from observation. The laws of logic come from observation.
We're not getting anywhere with this.
I mean, we're not, because it doesn't seem as if you're like that adequate on the literature surrounding this.
No.
Can you just like? I mean, I'm guessing that you're just making the argument that like the Christian God exists because there's a cause for all causes, and something must have like started it all.
Yeah, I feel like there was a creator that created everything, and which we are part of that creation, and to terminate that is against God's will.
Right. So this is actually like going to be, so like this is the thing though. So like if we just follow like a principle of like Occam's razor, like assuming that a more simplistic explanation for any set of given occurrences is going to be more probable by nature, we could just assume there to be a creator in which created everything that does not possess the complexity of say the Christian God. So the Christian God possesses like all these given properties such as like nature, the explanation of right and wrong, and like these properties such as all good, all knowing, all powerful. But like if we just, you know, think up a more simplistic explanation for the cause of all causes, such as a fundamental set of protons, or you know, just like an actual creator that is not all good, all powerful, or all knowing, that's going to be more probable, right? And then like even in that same instance, like you'd have to agree that even if like I agree there's some plausibility for some creator, that doesn't necessitate that creator to be like the Christian creator or a creator that thinks abortion's wrong.
Well, something has to live outside of space, time, and matter. If they live within it, they cannot create it. So it has to be some God and only one God.
Wait, we've already went over this, right? So yeah, it could be a fundamental set of protons or a God that does not possess like the intrinsic properties such as intent or the MGB properties, and that'd be more probable, right? Because it's more simplistic. I've already went over that with you. But then like at the end of the day, like what's going to be extremely more likely that it is not going to be a God that like is all good, all powerful, or all knowing, because there's contradictions that exist within inside of that. Like I think there's obvious contradictions that would exist within the God of Christianity. Like for like mention, is God all good?
Yeah.
Right. All right. Thank you. I will go ahead and look at the next point. Is it like logically possible for me to not sin in the next 24 hours?
Yeah, it's logically possible for you. I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody has the choice.
Sweet. So everyone has a choice to not sin because we have free will. So this means if like I have there's a possibility of me not sinning over the course of the next 24 hours, we could just abstract that out and we could say there's some probability of me not sinning over the course of my entire life, even if it's an extremely low probability. So this means that an individual can have free will and not sin, right? So this would mean that there's a logically possible world in which everyone has free will but chooses not to sin, and God's because of God's all good nature, we'd be able to presume that God would value good over evil and sin is evil. Therefore, the most preferable world to God is one in which individuals have free will and do not sin. However, because we do not live in that world, we see a contradiction between reality and the nature of God. It's called the problem of evil.
Well, God gave us choice so we can choose Him.
Right, but you just
Or
agreed with me,
another
but it seems
option.
as if we could like choose to not sin, like, right? So we're just looking at the logically possible worlds here, right? We can choose to not sin, right? And there's a logically possible world in which we do choose to not sin, right? And the fact that that is not the world in which we live in would show a contradiction within the nature of God.
It's not that there's a contradiction. It's that we were given free will to choose.
Right, but we've already went over
we
how
need-
this possible world would have free will, and we just simply choose to do good, right? So this isn't telling me anything.
But you're speaking as if there's like possible other worlds where there could be other options.
Right, of course, there is, obviously, because God's all-knowing, God's all-powerful, and God's perfect, so he could kind of do whatever he wants, and he knows all. He knows all potential outcomes. He knows all possible worlds, and the fact that he did not choose the possible world in which we did possess free will and didn't sin would show contradiction in the nature of God.
No, it's because he created a perfect world. He gave us free will, so we would choose him, so we weren't forced to choose him.
Right, but again, like we just went over the fact that in this possible world in which we do not sin, individuals would still possess free will, so that's kind of a moot point.
So we're just going in a circle again.
No, I mean, you just kept on saying the same thing, and then I keep explaining the same thing. Yes, you can have free will and not sin. For example, does God have free will?
God, he does have free. He has the power of everything. He has the power of free will,
Sweet.
but he
God has
chooses
free will,
to be
right? God has free will. Does God sin?
no, because he's perfect.
Yeah. So it seems as if we have concluded that you can have free will and not sin. So this would be analogous to this possible world in which we have free will and not sin and don't sin. And the fact that, God did not choose that possible world, we show contradiction. I keep on explaining this to you, then you just continue to
He
say,
didn't choose
well, if we
this
didn't
world.
sin,
He made
one
this
second, Matt.
world.
Yeah, he did choose to make this world. God had the desire or the intent to make this world, right? And the fact that God desired to create a world which includes sin and free will over a world in which does not include sin and free will is going to be a contradiction of his nature.
That's not a contradiction of
How's
his
that not a
nature.
contradiction of his nature? It's like logically entailed. We've already went over the fact how God has a preference for no sin over sin, and we see in reality that God intended for there to be a world with sin over not sin. That's the contradiction. We're like
He didn't
that's a
intend for the
contradiction.
world to be full of sin. He intended for a perfect world, but he allowed free will.
Homie, we've already went over the free will part. Actually open up your
That's why I
ears
keep
and
saying we're
listen.
going in circles.
No, because you are leading this in circles. We've already agreed that you can have free will and just simply choose to not sin. Like, this doesn't, negate free will at all. We went over the fact that it is logically possible for me to not sin in the next 24 hours, or it's logically possible for me to not sin over the course of my lifetime. And obviously, I'm an entity that possesses free will. And the fact that it's logically possible for me to have free will and to not sin shows the contradiction, and your only response to this is if that was the case, we wouldn't have free will, but I've obviously already shown you how it is the case that we would.
Okay. So, on a spiritual level,
I mean, I just proof through contradiction. Christian God doesn't exist. I just showed you. Anything else? Do you have any other objections or responses to this?
I have nothing else. We're just going in circles. Thank you for your time.
I mean, homie, Jay, you are the one that's taking it in circles, but I appreciate you for your time as well.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, we're going to move on to our next guest here, guys. If you do think it is wrong or immoral to get an abortion, and if you are pro-life, go ahead and hop in those guest requests. We're going to go ahead and get our next guest up in here, guys. We're going to go and get our next guest up in here. Yo, everyone hop in those guest requests right now. Also, make sure that we're tapping away on that phone screen. Shauna, I appreciate the $1 over Cash App. And we are going to go ahead and switch up our topic here soon. We've been live for about an hour and a half. Actually, we're going to go ahead and run a poll on that right now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and run a poll on that right now, guys. So smiley faces, keep this topic. Sad faces, switch to a new one. But in the meantime, while we're running that poll, we're going to go ahead and get our next guest up here, you guys. So if you do think that abortion's wrong, make sure to hop in those guest requests. Oh yeah, we're seeing a lot of people for a new topic. All right, hey, what's going on? Are you pro-life?
Yes, I'm pro-life.
Sweet. So while you're pro-life, why is abortion wrong? Why shouldn't women have access to healthcare?
I think that my argument is because of God. That's why I think that's why I'm pro-life, because I believe that murder is murder and murder is wrong.
I don't believe in God, so And I just went through the problem of evil with the last guest, so I don't really feel like going through it again.
Yeah, I know. I was like, dang, he stole my argument. But I think that even taking God out the equation, I think if you take God out the equation, then it's not wrong. But the only reason it is wrong is because of God.
Okay,
so it's
sweet.
kind of hard to make an argument without God because.
Yeah, can you prove or justify to me that your God exists?
Yes, I think that the proof is all around, but you just refuse to accept it as proof.
Yeah, that's such a weak argument. That's what like any follower of any religion of all time is going to say.
But
like, what religion do you prescribe? One second.
I'm not a follower of religion. I don't believe in religion. I think religion is like trash. I believe in God,
wait.
but not religion.
Well, then how the hell do you know that your God thinks that abortion's wrong?
Because I believe God is real. He is a creator. And
all right, God's real. He's a creator. How do you know that he thinks abortion's wrong? Right? If you don't prescribe to a religion, then you don't have any basis for what is right and wrong. Because one second. Right? So like when we're talking about God in relation to religion and what is right and wrong, right? Like what dictates right and wrong under a God would be the divine text of the God. So if you believe in a God that does not have divine text, then you have no way of knowing what that God thinks is right or wrong.
I agree, and I do believe God does have divine text. I just don't believe in the concept of religion.
Okay. So then what divine text does your God have, and where in that divine text does it say that murder is wrong?
I believe that the divine text that Christians use, but
you just said that you don't believe in religion.
I don't believe in religion.
So then don't appeal to Christianity, because Christianity is a religion.
I'm saying the group that identifies
so you're Christian.
As Christians. I'm not Christian, but
well, then if you're not Christian, then don't appeal to the Christian the Christian religion, bro. Help me. If you're not Christian, then you can't appeal to the moral code of Christianity. In order to preside under the moral code of Christianity, you must be a Christian.
Right, and I'm not using the code of Christianity. I believe the Christians
so then
are.
What moral code are you using? Who is your God, and how do you know that he thinks murder is wrong?
I believe Christians are using.
Oh, I'm asking you. This is a debate.
Okay,
this is a debate between you. One second. I'm going to slow down. We're going to slow down. I'm going to preface that this is a debate between you and me. Right? So here's the thing. You said that you believe in God, and your God says that murder is wrong, and that's why abortion's wrong. This would be completely fine. This is a completely acceptable stance if you were religious, but you're not religious. You just believe in a creator. And like, what I'm asking you is, how do you know that this creator thinks it's wrong to murder?
Yeah, and my answer is through his divine text that he has left.
Oh, right. What are his divine texts?
In some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, there were.
So you're a Christian.
I'm not.
You're a Christian. Well, then you wouldn't, dude. Homie. If you're not a Christian, then you wouldn't think that the divine sea scrolls are true. If you're not a Christian, then you wouldn't preside under Christianity. If you're not a Christian, then you wouldn't look towards the Bible to dictate what is right and wrong.
I think that's false because I believe
what? Bro, what? No, what? No, if you believe in Christianity, you're a Christian.
I don't believe in Christianity.
So then you don't believe in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you don't believe in the Christian Bible.
I don't believe they're exclusive to Christians.
Oh my gosh, yes they are. No, yes they are completely. No, in order for you to preside by the Ten Commandments, the Christian Bible, the Dead Sea Scrolls, or anything like that, you must inherently believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose from the dead 3 days later to forgive our sins, right? And if you do not believe that Jesus Christ, died on the cross and rose 3 days later to forgive our sins, then you are not going to believe in the biblical texts in relation to that God. And if you do not believe in the biblical text in relation to that God, then you cannot use that as a basis to dictate what is right and wrong.
I don't believe that believing Jesus died makes you Christian. I feel like that's one of the qualifications to be Christian.
Yes. No. If you think that Jesus Christ died on the cross and then was resurrected from the dead, you're a Christian. So do you believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and resurrected from the dead 3 days later to forgive our sins?
I do believe that, but I'm not a Christian.
Okay. Define Christian.
Christian is just a group, is like a support group. It's just a group that it's like any other club. Like it's just a group of people who are trying to own the rights of that story. So it's like a fan club.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Yes, the Christians do indeed own the rights to the story that Christ, like Christ, like the prefix of Christian, right? That Christ died on the cross and rose from the dead. right? So like, and like in a metaphorical sense, yes, Christians are a fan club to the notion that Christ was the Son of God.
Yes, exactly. But they don't own the
So
right.
do you,
They just create.
yes, they do. No, yes, they
don't.
fucking do. No. Who created Christianity? Jesus Christ created Christianity.
He did not.
If you are a fault, yeah. No.
Look at
Jesus
Christians-
Christ and his 12 disciples fucking created Christianity.
Christianity
Wait,
was based
who
off
created-
of Jesus Christ, but Jesus Christ does not support Christianity either.
Oh my God! Then who told Paul to start the church?
The church wasn't.
Who told? No. I'm so sorry. Who told Paul to start the Catholic Church?
Jesus told Paul to spread the message, but it wasn't.
All right,
exclusive. It
and
wasn't too
Paul
exclusive.
spreading the message is the start of the Christian Church.
Okay, the only way I'll accept that Christianity is a religion is that it's either everybody in the world is a Christian or nobody's Christian. It just is what it is, because Christianity is not one group that Jesus came for. Jesus died for every last single person in the world. So it's not one group. You can't, even if you say you don't believe in God, you're still a Christian, how you're putting it, because Christian is just a group. That's what I'm saying. It's just a group, but Jesus,
No.
Jesus
So I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna
everybody
get this
in the world.
incredibly clear for you. So under like the notion of Christianity, yes, Jesus Christ did die on the cross, and he was resurrected from the dead 3 days later to forgive the sins of all. Right? This is all encompassing, everyone on earth. Right?
Yes.
But individuals that believe he actually did that, or believe he was the Son of God, or believe that his 12 disciples then later shared his story through the Bible and started the Catholic/Christian Church through the spread of the word, specifically Paul, right? What we're going to see is that is the group called Christianity, right? If you believe in those notions, you are inherently a Christian, because that is the definition of Christianity.
I can accept you labeling me that, but I don't label myself as that. But I could see why a person of the world would label me as being
How the fuck could you not label yourself as a Christian?
because I believe that.
Do you think that Prophet Muhammad was divine? Was Prophet Muhammad like sent by Jesus? Sent by like the Abrahamic God?
No.
And why don't you believe that?
Because
you're not a Muslim, right?
it's not because I'm not a Muslim. It's because
are you saying that so you could be a Muslim and not find Prophet Muhammad to be a prophet?
No, I feel like those are the qualifications of being a Muslim. But also, I believe some people.
So there's all the Oh my god! Let's look at what you just said. You just got it. No, you just got it. So you just said the qualification of being a Muslim is thinking that
because part two was that I believe those are qualifications, but I also believe somebody could believe that without being a Muslim. Because I believe being a part of a religion doesn't mean that you automatically have this. You don't have those beliefs. Like
Bro, so wait, hold up. No, this is what you just said. This is what you just said. You just said believing in a religion doesn't mean you're believing in the religion.
No, okay, I know. I stumbled across my words. This is my first time going live ever in life. I didn't even know I had this capability. So I'm sorry. I am a little bit nervous, but I believe that just because, like you could believe most of the things a Republican believes. This is an example, but doesn't make you a Republican. You could say, okay, those are some good points. I agree with all those things, but you don't consider yourself a Republican. If you're not part of that group.
If you hold Republican beliefs. You definitely can agree with certain things of a group. However, if you agree with like very certain things, such as Donald Trump should be the president of the United States, then you're a Republican.
I don't believe that.
In a similar sense, where if you think that Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose from the dead, you're a Christian.
I think that there's a lot of things that I don't believe in that Christians believe in, which is why I don't consider myself a Christian.
You're a cherry picker.
But
how the fuck could you do that? No, that's actually what I don't understand. So obviously, like I'm a bit of a hard ass on like religious people, but then like at the same time, I'm also a hard ass on people that misuse religion, such as you are in your case. So if you're saying that Jesus Christ like did like die on the cross and rise from the dead, and like you would agree with that, then by not agreeing with other notions of Christianity spread throughout the Bible by his disciples, by his followers, and by people who he told to spread his message, then you are just cherry picking what you want to believe in and what you don't want to believe in with no rational basis to do so.
Okay, so this topic was about abortion. I hate to like just take all religious, but I believe in Jesus because I saw Jesus, not because of the Bible. So my belief is really rooted in a different place. So that's probably why it's so hard for you to understand, because it's not the same argument.
If your reasoning for believing that Jesus Christ was the Son of God isn't the Bible, then what is it?
I saw Jesus with my own eyes. Before I saw Jesus, I was like borderline atheist. I didn't believe it was real. And then I saw Jesus with my own eyes. And so after seeing something with your own eyes, I just have no choice but to know it's true. I can't unknow that. So that's why.
So if you know it's true that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, then why do you not follow Jesus Christ's message?
I follow his message. I just don't.
So then you abide by the Bible.
The
Bible is his message. The Bible is his message.
Yes, and in the Bible, it's clear to me that he was very clear. He was very clear. Like, I don't believe that he would support Christianity. His message was for everybody. I think his people created a group of and to honor him.
You're saying that he wanted to support Christianity?
Look at Christianity.
He started Christianity.
Look at Christianity.
No, stop. No. You just said that Jesus Christ would not support Christianity. Jesus Christ started Christianity.
No, Christianity was inspired by Jesus. Like, Christianity is literally believing in Jesus.
No. If you know anything about the Christian church, then you know that the Christian church was started by Saint Peter because Jesus told Saint Peter to start it.
The church was meant for everybody. It wasn't just meant. No, if you know.
Yes, it was meant for everyone. It was meant for everyone. The Christian church, under your worldview and under the worldview of other Christians, is that it was meant for everyone. Absolutely. Right. And if a person's not a part of it, they're not a part of it because it wasn't meant for them. They're not a part of it because they don't believe in it. They don't believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross.
But that's not
from the dead.
That's popular belief, but it's not true, because even in the Bible, they adopted the name Christians because that's what they were being called. Like, even his disciples, like even Paul, they adopted that name Christianity because that's what people were calling themselves, and that's what other groups used to identify them. So they just adopted the name. But originally, it was a group that was the message was meant to be spread worldwide.